Today, we're going to talk about Google ad campaign structure. And nothing gets us nerdy Google advertisers more excited than a good old chinwag about campaign structure. So there's two big mistakes that Google advertisers make today when it comes to Google ad campaign structure. The first one is they make it way too complicated. And often they didn't do that intentionally. The Google advertiser might start out with something relatively simple and then they add to it and they add to it, and over time it just becomes an absolute mess. It's kind of like that drawer we have in our house. All of us have this, where you just sort of put spare cables. You know, you ordered an electrical appliance and it came with a charger and for some reason one or two extra cables and you're like, that'll go in the cable drawer. And then you got something else a month later, that'll go in the cable drawer. And you come back a few years later, the cable drawer, and it looks like the most insane complex Rubik's Cube that would take 3 days to untangle if you wanted to. And that's kind of what happens with Google ad accounts over time as things get added to it, not something that you want to do. The second big mistake that Google advertisers make with campaign structure is they use outdated structures and strategies. And because the platform changes so fast, it's very easy for someone to have learned how to do something. They're cracking on with all the other marketing activities they've got, all the rest of their business. They're not keeping up to date with all the latest Google Ads information. And 6 months, 12 months, 2 years later, they're using stuff that's outdated. And I think a lot of the outdated structures, they're designed to give Google advertisers quite a lot of control. And that's not something we want to be doing anymore. I mean, shout out to all my old school Google advertisers that are still rocking skags.
What's a skag?
I don't know.
You can't call me a skag.
I can't?
Nah.
I give you a skag.
Now, skags, while sounding like a fantastic insult, actually stands for single keyword ad groups, for all you young Google Ads whippersnappers that haven't heard of that before. And using a skag in 2025, 2026 is very much old school. So basically, we don't want anywhere near as much control as Google advertisers over the segmenting and the targeting and the ad delivery, because we can very much trust Google to do more and more of that for us. Google is smarter than us. I mean, you watching this, maybe not you, maybe you're the next Iron Man. But for us mere mortals, Google is going to be smarter at all that delivery and optimization stuff, and we should let Google crack on. So those two big mistakes, what does that mean we are doing now as best practice when it comes to Google Ads campaign structure? So firstly, we are consolidating campaigns. We are trying to run with far less than we used to. Less is now more. There's a few reasons for that. When you consolidate your budget, it's easier for Google to optimize. And we actually have some information direct from Google on this. And it's talking here about smart bidding strategies, and they've got this line here. In order to use them and for Google to optimize properly, you typically need at least 15 conversions in a 30-day period, right? And I can tell you now, having spent gazillions on the platform, worked with thousands of businesses in every industry you can think of, that's a benchmark, but it's very much a minimum. The more conversions you get, the better. Your campaigns will optimize better at 150 conversions a month than 15, and better at 1,500 a month than 150, and so on and so forth, right? Why? Because Google needs data. If they're working out that people who are going to be interested in your product are likely to have 15 cats, then they're going to find other people with 15 plus cats and put ads in front of them as well. Google needs to be able to see who has converted, when they converted, time of day, what device they used, the placement option, what keyword they search for, where it happens to be within the Google Ads ecosystem, to work out who to put ads in front of more of to get more of that action. So the more data, the better. Now, when you consolidate campaigns, instead of having a bit of budget here and a bit of budget there, it's in 1 or 2 campaigns or fewer campaigns. You get more conversions in each one of those campaigns, which helps with getting that 15 plus or more conversion volume, and that helps with the data, okay? You can sort of think about it as like spinning plates, right? You might be able to spin one plate really well. I mean, I don't know how to spin a plate, never tried, probably smash it. But if you were spinning a plate, you'd probably do it one really well. You try adding more and more and more, it gets more and more difficult, right? Also, the more conversion volume you have going through fewer campaigns, the less volatile your results are. So think about this, right? So think you've got a dice. If you were to roll it 6 times, what are the chances that you get a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6? Pretty low. But if you were to roll a dice 1,000,000 times, what are the chances that 1/6 of the time you got a 1, and 1/6 of the time you got a 2, 1/6 of the time you got a 3, on and on? Like almost 100%, right? So the law of small numbers means that you have crazy volatility. So I'm often tearing my hair out, to be perfectly honest, speaking to Google advertisers who are like,
what do you think of this campaign? It's got 2 conversions.
I'm like, it's meaningless. 2 conversions means absolutely nothing. We cannot draw any data from that because you could get 2 more conversions in the next 45 seconds, and that completely changes the result. Small numbers throw up weird statistical anomalies, so more volume, the better. And actually, I'll tell you something we love to see as a marketing agency, and that's that when we start working with a new client, if they've been running Google ad campaigns before we started working with them, that they've got like 15, 20, 25 campaigns running. Because we always want to give new clients a nice ROAS bump early, a nice bump in their core metrics, sets the relationship off on the right foot and all that sort of stuff. And we know that if they've got 20 campaigns and we can reduce that to 2, 3, or 4, really consolidate that down, we almost certainly see a significant improvement in return on ad spend. Part of the reason for that is the consolidation that we talked about. Another part of the reason I think fewer campaigns helps you do this is we're reallocating budget to the best performing parts. And I'll let you in on a little Google Ads secret. You do not need to spend money advertising all your products and all your services. I see so many ad accounts where either the business owner or the marketer just has the idea of like, well, we sell these 4 things or we sell these 15 things. We need to allocate 1/15 of the budget to each thing. Nonsense. You can absolutely be very unbalanced with your budget allocation and put most or all of your budget into your very best sellers and then look to sell the other stuff with upsells, email marketing, repeat business, and things like that. It's one of the easiest ways, again, kind of linked to the consolidated campaigns to improve your return on ad spend, right? So in a second, I'm going to let you know when you do and don't want to separate out Google ad campaigns, where you want to draw those lines effectively. But first, I want to very quickly let you know about my Google Ads mentorship program, which gives you all the support you need to get the best possible Google ad results. And it includes exclusive educational material that you won't find elsewhere, unlimited one-to-one support. You can ask us any questions about your Google ads, your business, your marketing, whatever, anytime, and we'll let you know what we think you should do. Multiple daily live calls and Q&As with both me and my expert team members. If that sounds interesting, there is a link in the video description below. Click on that, book in a free call to find out more with one of our team members, and hopefully we'll be talking directly very soon. So when do you actually want to separate out campaigns? There's a few different scenarios. I'm going to quickly run through them, right? So firstly, we've got brand versus non-brand campaigns. So let's say you've got a search campaign that is targeted to people who are searching for things that are closely related to your products and services. You put your ads in front of them, regular Google Ads search campaign. Well, you can create branded search campaigns, which a lot of Google advertisers do, and they bid specifically on keywords that are your brand terms, whether that's your business name or your personal name even, to make sure that you get that traffic and it doesn't go elsewhere. So if we're doing a branded search term campaign for my business, we would have things, my name, Ben Heath, but we would also have Heath Media, the name of my agency, and a few other related terms. In fact, we had a bit of fun with this. We found there was a bit of search volume for things like British Facebook ads guy and stuff like that. So we added that into our branded search terms. I'm a little bit better known through my Facebook ads YouTube channel than I am my Google ads YouTube channel. It's trying. We're trying there. We're going to get there. But a little better known there. So we added in some of those into our branded search term because that's what people were searching for, we believe, when they were trying to find me. So that would be one of them, right? Branded versus non-branded. You want to keep those separate. They sort of function differently. The cost per click is going to be very different. All the metrics are going to be quite different, so keep them separate. The next scenario would be different locations. So you might have different campaigns for different countries, particularly if there's different languages involved. You could even do it at different states. Sometimes you want to be able to tailor what's in there, or there'll be markets that perform very differently. If you're advertising in the US and you're advertising in California versus Mississippi, probably campaigns are going to be very different. Your cost per click is going to be much higher in California. Your conversion rates might be very different. The language used in your ads might need to be very different. So there might be reasons why you want to separate that out. Or if you're a local business, you have multiple locations, again, you might want those in separate campaigns. We'd have different campaigns for different product or service ranges, not product variations. I don't want one campaign for red hats and one campaign for blue hats, but if you had a campaign for hats and a campaign for shoes, that's absolutely fine, right? So in our business, for example, we offer Google Ad services and Meta Ad services. Well, we would have those in separate campaigns. And then, of course, you've got different campaign types. So you're going to naturally, inevitably have a different campaign for search versus performance max, and that's absolutely fine, right? Some of those options we mentioned, not always. So, for example, with the locations, we would often split those out different locations, but not always. My business, for example, we don't separate out via location because we're quite happy for the same ads to be put in front of people searching for our stuff from the UK versus from the US. Not a huge amount of difference, so we're going to keep those the same. So let me show you what this might look like for us when we're running our own campaigns, right? So this is one of our example ad accounts. We've actually run a branded campaign out of this. You can see this Heath branded search campaign. But then we've got 4 other campaigns, right? So like I said, we offer Meta Ad services, Google Ad services, and we've got Done With You, and done for you. So done with you is a measure program, like I just mentioned, and done for you is we'll actually just run it for you, etc., which costs significantly more, but is a lot more hands-on, as you'd expect, right? So we've actually got 4 separate campaigns for each of those, 2 for the different ad platforms, and then 1 for the different offerings. Because yes, there's some overlap between the people we're trying to reach with done for you versus done with you, but done with you tend to be smaller, medium-sized businesses. Our done for you service tends to be much larger companies. We're dealing with marketing managers, not business owners for the most part, and they are looking for, I just want to hand it over to you guys and you fully run it, right? So we would separate out like this. Now, you might notice these are all search campaigns. I would strongly recommend you don't just stick to search campaigns. You absolutely want to add in other campaign types at some point. And I've got content on that. Performance Max would be an obvious place to go. I've got a whole tutorial on how to set up Performance Max campaigns. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. But this is what it might look like from a search campaign standpoint, how we structure it. And then if we were to add in Performance Max, then we would look to mirror something similar, right? Okay, so when should you not separate out into different campaigns? And actually, this list is probably more important than the list of reasons to separate out, because if you get this wrong, it's going to hurt your results. So basically, when to not separate out into different campaigns is all the things we didn't just go through, all the things we didn't mention. So don't have separate campaigns for different device types. Something we used to do all the time. I mean, I've been doing Google Ads so long that I remember when mobile was barely anything and it started to become a significant factor, which seems hilarious now.
Makes me feel very old.
But yeah, when we were running Google Ads 15, 16 years ago, mobile clicks were far less significant than they are today, unsurprisingly, right? Don't separate out via keyword match type. That's something that people used to do quite a lot. So you might have, right, here's my exact match campaign, my phrase match, my broad match. Nah, with the smart bidding strategy set up now, just not something you want to do. But that's really more getting into ad group structure, which we'll discuss in a second. But first, I want to quickly let you know about Hyros. Hyros is fantastic tracking and attribution software and can really help you improve your Google Ad results. It's a software that all the big players in the industry use, including myself. I use it to track results for my own ads across multiple platforms, including Google Ads, and all my organic results as well, which is super helpful. So if someone, for example, comes through and books a call for our done for you services, I can see exactly where that person came from. This is particularly important if you're running ads across multiple channels or generating customers organically as well. Without accurate data, you are flying blind, and knowledge is power. So let me show you how important this is. So I'm here in my Hyros dashboard. I'm going to take a look at the data and the results that Hyros has been able to track and compare those to what I'm seeing within my Google Ad account for the same campaign. So this is a Google Ad campaign that we've been running. We're only looking at data for a few days here, but it really demonstrates what's going on. So you can see Hyros has registered 6 leads generated, a cost per lead of just over £15. 75 clicks. It's just a branded search campaign, hence why the CTR is 30%. So not a huge amount going on, but representative, right? So that's the data we can see within Hyros. If I jump over to my Google Ad account, we look at the exact same campaign, same time frame. We've got May 21st to 27th. You can see a lot of the data matches up, right? We've got 75 clicks, 30% CTR just like before. But if we scroll over, you can see that Google has only registered 3 conversions as opposed to the 6. So it's registered half the number of conversions. And I can tell you, looking at the back-end data, that the 6 from Hyros is the accurate number. And that's why this is so important, because we might look at the Google Ads data and come to the wrong conclusion, think this isn't profitable, turn stuff off when we shouldn't, but we can verify it with the Hyros data and make much better, more informed decisions and end up with better overall ad results because of it. So if you want to improve the performance of your Google Ad campaigns and be able to see exactly where your leads and sales are coming from, go ahead and sign up to Hyros. There is a link in the video description. Now let's talk ad group structure. So firstly, no skags. I wonder how many times I can say the word skags before you get annoyed at me. Probably already gone past it, but oh well. So no skags, consolidate as well. So obviously skag, single keyword ad groups, being the extreme of having everything segmented out and fractioned up into just one keyword per ad group, and you end up with a gazillion ad groups, and not what you want to do. You also want to consolidate. So what we're consolidating down to, we're not separating out via match type, we're not separating out into these tiny little like micro lanes of search terms. What we're doing is we're going for themed ad groups. So I'll give you an example and I'll run through what that might look like, because I think it's easier to visualize, right? So let's say we're running ads for a landscaping business. So we would have an ad group for general landscaping, so search terms related to people searching for landscaping, landscapers near me, etc., etc. But then we might look to break out the separate sort of subcategories of that. So we might have an ad group for grass cutting and care, which is going to include grass cutting and lawn mowing and lawn maintenance and lawn care and weeding or whatever is included and all that sort of stuff. I don't really know. Might have patios as another ad group. Patio laying, patio removal, cutting patio. All the things you've got to do to put a patio in and make it look pretty and have somewhere to run around in your garden that doesn't get muddy through the British winter, which is very wet and very muddy. So you really do need a patio. Anyway, flower beds might be another one. Installing flower beds, raised beds, beds in a rockery. All the search terms related to flower beds. So that might be just an easy example of how you can think about it. You're theming these around a category of stuff or a buyer persona. Now, of course, there's going to be some overlap, like someone interested in grass cutting might also be interested in other stuff, and you might be able to upsell those people once they actually start speaking to you. Like once you get them on the phone or go around and do a quote or whatever, that's a perfect time to be like, oh, we also do, this other stuff if you'd be interested. One of the easiest way to increase your customer value. In an ideal world, you'd have a separate landing page for each one of those ad groups, and they would go through to something more specific to them. Even if you can then upsell later, they'll feel like they're in the right place. You're more likely to get the lead or the sale, get the conversion. And then obviously you want to make sure that the ad copy is closely related to the search terms in there. And that's why we're still separating out by themes. Because if you just had one landscaping ad set, and you had all the various different keywords in there for patios and lawns and shrubberies or rockeries or flower beds or whatever, they might see an ad that's not as relevant to them as if it's paired up, being like,
I wanted shrubbery.
And then there's an ad for a shrubbery. I'm not exactly sure what a shrubbery is, but if that's what they're looking for, then you can go ahead and they can get that. And they're more likely to click on the ad, more likely to convert, all the good stuff that us Google advertisers want and get paid to do. Now, just to be clear, actually, with this business, I think this is a good use case. If this business, which a lot of landscape businesses do, they will offer residential and commercial services. We would probably have those in separate campaigns because that's different enough where we might look to really separate them out. Basically, remember when we talked about earlier the lines along which we would separate our campaigns, and one of them was a product or service range? I would say that's a different service range. There's the range of services for commercial and there's a range of services for residential. We want to keep those in separate campaigns. So hopefully that's been useful. For more Google Ads tips, please go ahead and subscribe.